Xavier Porter joins us for a couple moments, our weekly boxing spot brought to you by BrooklynFights.com. Check them out online for in-depth features, interviews, videos, merchandise as well. They got a lot of good stuff ready to be purchased online. BrooklynFights.com. Great source for boxing and boxing along the East Coast, focused on New York, surrounding area. You know, Xavier is going to try to get down to D.C. this weekend. We'll talk momentarily about that card. A lot of good cards this weekend, but always good to talk to you, my friend. How you been?
Hey, Rich, how's everything? Good to hear from you again.
You too, pal. Everything is going well. Let's kind of do a little recap here. GGG once again showing us why you can make the argument right now. The face of boxing. Look, Wade overmatched. We knew that. Game early on in that fight. I guess more or less, it's hard to really break down a fight like that. I mean, that's just the assault of GGG. But in your opinion, what's next for him? Where does he go from here?
He has no other choice but to go up top. He has to go up top. He can't stay. I mean, he can stay at 160, but which he'll probably do just to get the WBC middleweight belts. Maybe he might stay there for a few more fights, depending on how he makes his weight, because he has stated that he wants to basically defend the middleweight belts like Hopkins did in his career.
Yep.
But you know, Triple G, he has nowhere else but to go up top, and that's at 168, and that's where That's when everything. That's when the buck stops, I'd say.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is, look, he's the bread and butter when you look at HBO and you look at the numbers that they average as far as according to Nielsen. I mean, it was the most watched fight since June 6 back in 2015. That was the Cotto Daniel Gill fight. He's certainly one of those stars on the rise. Let me ask you this: would you foresee, or do you think we would ever see Canelo and GGG?
Yeah, I do, actually. I really do. Not just from a fan perspective, but I truly believe that the boxing gods or the powers that be, they're going to make this fight happen. Whether it happens this year, I'm not too sure, but I do believe the fight is going to take place.
Yeah, and you would imagine, too, if that fight took place against the lineal champ Alvarez at at anything less than 160, they would never agree to it at anything less than 160.
It's going to be at 160.
Yeah.
It has no other choice to be at 160. Yeah. I think it's just they want to see how well Canelo fares at this weight with fighting with someone such as Amir Khan. And I think once he sees that he's a good fit at 160. They might even throw another fight between them two. I'm not sure, but I believe they'll definitely fight for that 160 belt, for that WBC green belt.
What were your thoughts on Chocolatito Gonzalez? And again, brilliant once again, but also taking on an opponent who had about a year of ring rust, who actually fought a heck of a fight. But you just see that Ramon is just that good of a fighter. Yeah,
Chocolatito, he's just so talented all around. There's no flaws in his game, and he's brilliant at what he does. And there's a reason why a lot of people feel that he should be pound for pound number one right now. He's been defeating everybody they put in front of him. I would want to see him step up in weight, maybe a few more pounds up, to see how well his power can how it can handle himself up there. But
sure.
Right now, he's one of the best fighters out there. He's one of the unknown fighters, not to boxing analysts and people who really truly follow sport, but to the fans. And I think now people are starting to pay notice to him and say, "Wow, this little guy can really fight." Even if with this last fight he just had, if they the sort of fight what he had with Brian Zamoria at the last Triple G call with David Lemieux, you have seen some real great action and some real great boxing skill from Chocolatito. So he's definitely a good fighter, great fighter right now.
Yeah, he was one of the kind of the guys we mentioned last week, maybe those rising stars, the new faces of boxing. Let's go down. I know you're going to try to get the DC Showtime card, yes. Badu Jack, Lucien Boutte. You also have DeGale. You have the Porky Mendia fight for the IBF super middleweight title. Badu Jack and Boutte. I like this matchup on paper, but
I love it.
Yeah, I look at Jack, and for some reason, and it might sound crazy, I just think the guy just kind of goes unnoticed. I don't think people realize how good of a fighter he is.
I think that's because of the quick stoppage that he had early in his career. I agree with you. I think now, once he does what he does with Boutte, and if he comes out successful and he looks well doing it, I think people really start to pay notice to, wow, this guy's really pretty good. He's had a lot of great training. He has Eddie Mustafa in his corner. He's fought I think he fought Anthony Durrell for the belt to win the belt. So
yep, WBC World Super. Yep.
Yeah. So Badou Jack he's really one of the better fighters out there, and it's a good thing that he signed with TMT because he's getting a lot of good home training. He really doesn't have to go anywhere further. But then you also got to look at Lucha Bute, who's also been a titleist himself. Who's also been the IBF super middleweight champ at one point, and he's had a tough going around when he with Carl Froch and a few other people, including DeGale. But Bute's he's a fighter,
Yeah,
he's really tough and rugged.
I thought you brought up.
There's a lot to take down Bute.
Yeah, and I thought you made a great point. I mean, he suffers that TKO back in 2014 against Derek Edwards, and you know how the sport is. I mean, you're on the rise, you get knocked out, then you have to kind of rebuild a resume, so to speak. Again, a couple minutes with Xavier Porter joining us from BrooklynFights.com. Great resource for boxing. Check him out online, BrooklynFights.com. Hard-hitting, opinionated, edgy, always good videos, interviews. I'm looking at Victor Ortiz, and people forget he's still kind of a pup. The guy was 24 years old, and he had that first fight with Berto, and they were just, flooring each other left and right. And then again, you get a couple little hiccups, little bumps in the road. But to me, I think when you look at this fight, is basically a situation where Ortiz, again, 4 years ago, 24 years old, right? Just defeated twice in 32 fights, just a pup, now 28, 29. This is a fight to me that I don't want to say defines the career, but I think this fight will let people see, or afterwards we talk about it and say, okay, this guy's still relevant. And that's crazy to say because he is a world-class fighter, and he's a very good fighter. But again, I think he goes in. Yeah, and I think he goes into this fight as almost kind of like the sleeper, like, oh, yeah, whatever happened to Victor Ortiz? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think Victor Ortiz has so much talent. It's like, the things he's been through in his career with that tough grueling loss that he had against Maidana, where he was young and he was getting beat up on. He couldn't take it, and he had a tough loss after that, and he made it all the way to win the belt. I believe WBC once won belt, and he fought Floyd.
Yeah.
So you can't really say that Victor Ortiz. A lot of people, I should say, not you per se, but a lot of people, they can't really knock Victor Ortiz out and say that he's this guy, he's this type of fighter that he's not going to be able to take his career to the next level. He has a lot of great talent. He's had he's had some tough losses. He's got his jaw broken. But you got to understand when he fought Berto, he put Berto down.
They both floor each other in that fight. I think both guys got decked left and right in that fight, and then he winds up winning.
He put Berto down more.
Yeah, no, you're right. And look, and you mentioned the Lopez and the Collazo fight and the Mayweather fight. So again, that's why I think sometimes people look at him as kind of the quote forgotten man. I think
he's growing into himself right now. I think, like you just mentioned, from growing from 24 years old to the age that he is now, I think he's finally like, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm going to grow into this division, grow into this weight. He's a named fighter in a division where, anybody can take it right now.
I know we got a couple of minutes left. I want to get your thoughts because I know you do some stuff, or you've spoken. I know you've spoken with Eddie Chambers and fought a lot of his fights, kind of second arc of his career, over in the UK, over in Europe, and now back and trying to get more fights, taking on Gerald Washington. A taller guy, likes to kind of grapple. We saw that against Mansour. But how relevant do you think Chambers can make himself, especially as a U.S. heavyweight?
Mm-hmm. I think if Chambers, like anybody else, if he's successful and he looks good doing it and he does it consistently, he can get to that level again where he could be considered as one of the best heavyweights in the world and possibly get a shot at whoever's holding the belt at the time. May not come against Fury, but I believe if Wilder is successful against Povetkin and Joshua is successful against Brazil, he might be able to get a title shot at one of them, or even against Lucas Brown, who I believe has the WBA belt, if I'm not mistaken in saying that. But he can get there. I believe Eddie Chambers he definitely has the skill, hands down. Nobody moves in the ring as well as Eddie Chambers, especially at the height that he's at, the size that he's at, and all these heavyweights he's fighting, they're big heavyweights. And so compared to them, Eddie Chambers is just a slick boxer. So I think he has the potential to get there.
Yeah, it's amazing, too. Heavyweight division. You can be 30, you can be 40, you can be 50, and you can hang around. Before I let you get out of here, Showtime's card, or the PBC card in Atlantic City, Darrell, it's always fun to watch those guys in action. You got a couple good local fighters in our backyard fighting. But that's a good card. I think that's kind of a sleeper card this weekend as well.
Yes. To have both brothers on the same card is a beautiful thing. That's a mother's dream. To have both of your sons both of your sons who are former champions fighting on the same card, and reestablishing their careers. And they're great boxers in their own right. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm pretty sure the family is happy. I'm happy for them. I'm pretty sure Flint, Michigan is happy for them. I like the Darrell brothers. I want to see them do well.
Yeah, they quietly go about their business. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
All right, I know you're going to try to get down to D.C. I'll be in our backyard in Atlantic City. Anything else you got working on this weekend or anything going forward next week for BrooklynFights.com?
We got a few things in place. You'll see. We got a few things in place.
All right, I like that. You keep it to the vest. You keep it to the vest. That's all right.
Because a lot of people will watch it. So,
All right, listen. Always great insight, my friend. Be safe travels with DC. We'll catch up next week. We'll do a good recap, and as I alluded to, I'm sure we'll talk over the weekend while both cards are going on.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks again, Rich.
You got it. Always a pleasure, Xavier Porter. Yeah, as I alluded to, those guys do a really good job. I mean, you talk about branding in the sport of boxing, and just from a media standpoint, you have to go to the website, BrooklynFights.com. Whether you're a novice fan, a diehard, or a hardcore fan, these guys, they do it the right way. They go out, they grind it, they cover the fights, they get the inside scoop. They do a really good job. Don't forget BrooklynFights.com, the official sponsor of our weekly boxing segment right here on the warm-up on 97.3 ESPN FM.
BrooklynFights.com is your hottest stop for in-depth boxing coverage, features, and strong opinions on the world of boxing. Covering the fight life from Brooklyn to the world stage, BrooklynFights.com delivers the inside story on today's biggest names and emerging prospects, keeping it real, never biased, and brought to you from the world capital of fighting, Brooklyn, New York. BrooklynFights.com, your newest outlet for boxing. Visit BrooklynFights.com today. BrooklynFights.com. BrooklynFights.com.